Imagine someone born way back in 1875, in the quiet heart of Switzerland. A man standing right at the edge between science and the mystical. His name? Carl Gustav Jung. Sure, he started off as a regular psychiatrist, lab coat, hospital walls, traditional medicine. But not for long. Jung broke free from the system. He stepped far outside the boundaries of what psychology was supposed to be. He went where most of his colleagues were too afraid to even look. He fused psychiatry with philosophy, gnosticism, alchemy, even the shadows of ancient magic. Jung wasn't just interested in the chemistry of the brain. He wanted to understand the soul. And to do that, he believed science had to break free from the chains of materialism and look beyond the veil, to a place where symbols are born, where dreams take form, where other levels of reality might actually exist. Now, did Jung talk about astral projection? Not directly, but listen closely. His ideas about multidimensional consciousness, about archetypes, the collective unconscious, they sound eerily close to something way bigger, something unseen, but felt by dreamers, shamans, kids who wake up from strange dreams, and people who've had out-of-body experiences. They often describe that place in words that sound a lot like Jung. Sounds complicated? But what if it's not just some dry academic concept? What if it's a portal? Imagine a psychic field that connects all of us, across space, across time. We're not just individuals. We're echoes of a shared memory. Jung believed we don't just inherit genes. We inherit archetypes. Universal images, symbols, and storylines that repeat across every culture on Earth. That's why dreams in Tibet can resemble dreams in Brazil. That's why people who leave their bodies sometimes see the exact same thing. These symbols aren't just imagination. They're fragments of a deeper layer of reality. When we dream, when we meditate, when we fall into creative flow, we touch that layer. Jung believed the collective unconscious wasn't a metaphor. It was real. An active psychic energy field. And maybe, just maybe, it's the same field that guides us through astral realms. So who was Carl Jung really? A psychiatrist? A philosopher? A mystic? Or maybe a guide to the in-between? What if inside you, there aren't just thoughts or feelings, but living forces, autonomous structures that act on their own, older than you, older than your childhood, older than your entire life? Jung called them archetypes, not just symbols, but energy patterns. They feel, they think, and sometimes they act. When we hit a crisis, go through trauma, or face transformation, archetypes come alive. They enter our dreams, our intuition, our spontaneous visions. And suddenly, we see not just images, but figures. Figures that speak to us. The hero, the shadow, the mother, the trickster, the wise old man, the child, the healer. They appear when we're ready, or when we have no other choice. Ancient traditions called these beings spirits, guardians, or power animals. In shamanism, they were guides or tests. In astral practice, they become protectors, messengers, or obstacles to overcome. Because the archetype isn't just a thought. It's a living piece of your inner universe. It has rules. It has a will. And the deeper you go, the louder they get. Sometimes it feels like madness. Other times, like awakening. So how do you know it's real and not just fantasy? Jung believed the key lies in dreams. Not shallow, I forgot my homework dreams, but deep, visionary ones. Dreams where you meet people you've never seen, places you've never been, moments that defy logic. But each one is part of the archetypal map. Dreams are a tunnel between the personal and the universal, where your psyche reaches out into the collective field. Some say it's the subconscious. Others say it's the gateway to the astral. Either way, dreams are the map, and symbols are your guides. People who practice astral travel know. Once you learn to read your dreams, you hold the keys. Once you see past the image, you start the journey. And the more you trust the symbol, the deeper you go into a realm where time and space don't matter anymore. But the strangest part? Synchronicity. Jung called it proof that mind and matter are connected. No logic, no cause, no explanation. Just moments when your inner world and the outside world line up perfectly, as if the universe is whispering to you or winking. He believed that in those moments, something beyond space and time is at play, a shared source that reality and psyche both respond to. And if that's true, thoughts have energy. If symbols have power, if archetypes can guide us in dreams and the astral, then who are we really? Just brains in a body? Or inner travelers, remembering what we've always known? Picture this. An alchemist in a dark medieval lab trying to turn lead into gold. But what if the gold was never physical? What if the real goal was the transformation of the soul? That's how Jung saw it. He believed the ancient symbols of alchemy, the oil, the fire, the death and rebirth, weren't chemical stages. They were psychic states, real inner initiations. Just like ancient alchemists, each of us is meant to face death and be reborn. We're all chasing that inner gold. And those who travel out of body? Many say the journey feels the same. Tests, deaths, awakenings. That's why so many modern astral travelers use Jung's alchemical archetypes as navigation tools for the realms beyond. Jung never said astral, but he wrote about moments where the self detaches, watching from outside the body. Ancient cultures called it spirit walking. Today it might be called dissociation. Jung? He called it normal evolution of the psyche, a sacred part of becoming whole. He believed consciousness could exist beyond the body, and his most personal proof? A being called Philemon. Philemon wasn't imaginary, not a hallucination. He was real, at least to Jung. A teacher, a guide, a presence. In the Red Book, Jung describes long inner journeys, where Philemon appeared, spoke, guided. Not just a symbol, but a being with his own will. Jung said those visions changed his life. He saw them as just as real as anything in the outside world. To him, the psyche was a universe, and we've barely started to explore it. Of course, people doubted him. Still do. They called him unscientific, too mystical, too symbolic. But today, therapists, coaches, spiritual guides, even neuroscientists are rediscovering what Jung hinted at all along. That the archetype isn't just a theory. It's a healing force, a roadmap to wholeness. People are saying it now out loud. Jung wasn't wrong. We just weren't ready. His psychology doesn't reject the mystical. It translates it into a language we can explore. And that's why, even though Jung didn't create astral theory, his system might be the best compass we have. For dreamers, for seekers, for inner explorers like you. So if you've ever felt like your dreams meant something deeper, if you've seen visions you couldn't explain, if you sense there's a universe inside you, then you've already begun the journey Jung described. Subscribe, follow, because the real exploration is just beginning. Hey, quick note. If you noticed any mistakes or weird phrasing, I'm still learning. English isn't my first language and the voiceover was done using AI tools. Feel free to point out anything. I really appreciate the feedback. It helps me improve. And if this story spoke to you, leave a comment. Your support keeps this project going. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to hit that bell. We're going even deeper next time.